Nestled between towering emerald mountains, hidden from the world's hurried pace, lay the valley of Liranoa. It was a place of gentle winds, silver-leaf trees, and rolling fields kissed by the golden sun. Birds sang sweet melodies from dawn until dusk, and the people of Liranoa lived in harmony with the land, their laughter and songs carried by the wind. Yet, among the many wonders of Liranoa, none held more mystery than the Whispering Flow, a river unlike any other. It coursed through the valley like a ribbon of light, its waters so clear that one could see the smooth, polished stones resting beneath its surface. The river was said to have a voice of its own, a hushed melody that only the pure of heart could hear. But more than its beauty, the Whispering Flow was known for its legend. The elders told it as a warning. One sip, and your voice shall be blessed, a sound so divine it will capture the hearts of all who hear it. Drink twice, and the river will claim your voice forever. No one knew where the river's magic came from. Some believe it was the work of the ancient spirits that once roamed the land, while others thought the river had a soul, choosing whom it would gift and whom it would curse. Most people respected the legend, never daring to test it. But among them was a girl who longed for what the river could offer. Her name was Sela. And she was born with a voice so soft that even the wind seemed to speak louder than she ever could. Sela had always felt invisible. As a child, she would sit in the marketplace, watching traders sing out their wares with voices full of strength and confidence. She would walk past the village square, where children sang rhymes as they played, their voices ringing through the air like bells. She wished she could join them, but when she tried to speak, her voice barely rose above a whisper. At first, her parents thought she was simply shy. But as the years passed, it became clear that Sela was different. Her words never carried, her songs never soared, and even when she shouted, it was as if the world swallowed her voice before it could be heard. Her father, a man of great kindness, would often sit with her in the evenings and say, "A voice is not only heard, little one, it is felt." But Sela didn't want her voice to be felt. She wanted it to be heard. She wanted to sing like the wind, like the birds, like the women who wove melodies through the air as they worked. She wanted her voice to reach beyond the valley, to echo in places she had never seen. And so, when she first heard the legend of the Whispering Flow, a spark of hope ignited in her heart. One sip. That was all it would take. One night, when the village lay quiet beneath a sky full of stars, Sela made her way to the river. The moonlight shimmered on the water, making it look like molten silver. She knelt at the edge, her heart hammering in her chest. She had heard the warnings. The elders always spoke of the price of greed. But this wasn't greed, was it? She only wanted what others had been born with. With trembling hands, she scooped the water into her palms and brought it to her lips. The moment the cool liquid touched her tongue, a warmth bloomed in her throat, spreading like fire through her chest. She gasped. Something inside her shifted, like the breaking of dawn over the valley. Without thinking, she opened her mouth and sang. The sound that came from her lips was unlike anything she had ever known. It was clear, rich, and beautiful, like sunlight woven into song. It carried through the trees, across the river, and into the sleeping village. For the first time, Sela's voice was heard. She sang with joy, and the wind itself seemed to dance around her, carrying her melody far beyond the valley's borders. Her wish had come true. But wishes always come with a price. By morning, word had spread through the village. The girl who had once been silent now possessed the most enchanting voice Liranoa had ever heard. The people gathered in the square, eager to listen. And when Sela opened her mouth to sing, the world around her paused. Even the birds stilled in the trees, their songs forgotten in the presence of her melody. Her voice was pure, full of emotion that made hearts ache and eyes well with tears. It was a voice that could make the river hush and the wind listen. Soon, travelers from distant lands arrived in Liranoa, drawn by whispers of a girl whose song could move even the coldest hearts. Nobles sent for her, kings invited her to their courts, and poets wrote verses about the girl who sang like the gods themselves. Sela had everything she had ever wanted. But in the quiet moments, when she stood by the river that had given her this gift, a single thought lingered in her mind. Would it last forever? Or would it one day fade? She refused to let that happen. And so, she made a decision that would change everything. She would return to the river. Just one more sip. Just to make sure. The more Sela sang, the more the world loved her. Her voice became legend, not just in Liranoa, but far beyond its hidden borders. Minstrels composed ballads in her honor, and artists painted portraits of her, even those who had never seen her in person. The king himself sent envoys, offering gold and jewels if she would perform in his grand palace. Sela should have been happy. But beneath her fame and fortune, a shadow lurked. She became obsessed with the idea that one day, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps years from now, her voice might fade. She had never heard of anyone drinking from the whispering flow twice, but she convinced herself that maybe, just maybe, she could be an exception. After all, hadn't the river already broken one law of nature by granting her voice? Perhaps it could break another. She tried to silence her fears, but doubt followed her like a ghost. The first time she noticed the slightest imperfection in her voice, her hands turned cold. It was nothing, she told herself. A trick of the mind. But then it happened again. And again. And the doubt became unbearable. One more sip. That was all she needed. Just to make sure. The night was darker than before, the sky clouded, as if the stars themselves had turned away. Sela wrapped a cloak around her shoulders and slipped from her chambers. Her heart pounded with each step toward the river. The whispering flow shimmered under the moonlight, as calm and beautiful as ever. She knelt, just as she had years ago, and cupped the water in her hands. A voice inside her whispered stop. But she ignored it. She drank. The moment the water touched her tongue, she felt it, cold, sharp, final. It was not the warmth of the first sip but an emptiness that spread through her like ice in her veins. Something inside her shifted, broke. She opened her mouth to sing, but no sound came. She tried to speak, but there was nothing. She clutched her throat, panic setting in. Her voice, gone. Forever. The river had stolen what it once gifted. She screamed, but the world remained silent. For the first time, true silence surrounded her. And she realized she had made the greatest mistake of her life. Days turned into weeks, and the news spread quickly. The girl with the golden voice, voiceless. Some believed she had been cursed. Others whispered that the river had punished her for her greed. Some pitied her, others scorned her. But no one knew the truth. No one knew that she had broken the one rule. That she had taken too much. She tried to communicate, but words could not replace the power of song. Music had been her soul, her lifeblood. Now, she was a shadow of what she had once been. People who once adored her now forgot. She was no longer special. She was nothing. The fame she had once cherished now felt like a cruel mockery. She had been heard by thousands, now, no one listened. And so, she disappeared. She left behind the riches, the honors, and the life she had built. There was only one place left for her to go. Back to the river. The whispering flow was unchanged, as if nothing had happened. Sela stood at its edge, staring into the water. Her reflection gazed back at her, hollow-eyed, empty. She wanted to beg, to plead, but what use were words without a voice? Tears fell into the river. And then, the wind stirred. A soft hum rose from the water, a melody so faint it could have been imagined. But Sela knew it wasn't. It was her. Her voice, trapped within the river. Carried by the wind. A sorrowful song, drifting across the valley. A warning. A lesson. Greed will silence even the most beautiful song. No one saw Sela after that night. Some believed she had vanished into the mountains. Others said she had walked into the river and become one with the waters. But the valley of Liranoa never forgot her. Even after years passed, travelers claimed that if they stood by the river at dusk and closed their eyes, they could hear a faint melody rising from the water. A voice lost but not forgotten. The river had taken her song, but in doing so, it had made it eternal. Her warning became legend. Her story became a lesson. And her voice, though gone from her lips, lived on in the wind. The whispering flow remains, untouched by time. Even now, the people of Liranoa tell the story of the girl who had everything, and lost it all. They speak of the river's gift and its curse. They warn their children. 1 sip, and you will sing with the gods. 2, and the gods will take it back. But some, even knowing the tale, still find themselves drawn to the river's edge, listening, wondering, hoping. And if you stand there long enough, if you truly listen, you might hear it. A soft, sorrowful whisper in the wind. A voice, lost to time, forever singing the song of what was, and what could have been. The voice of Sela. The seasons changed, and the valley of Liranoa moved on. The people still spoke of Sela, but only in hushed voices, as if saying her name too loudly might summon her ghost. Her voice had become legend, her story a warning, yet no one had seen her since the night she returned to the whispering flow. Many assumed she had faded into the wilds, swallowed by her sorrow. But in truth, Sela had not left the valley. She lived in the shadows of the forest, wandering along the river banks, a silent observer of the world that once adored her. She watched as children played by the water's edge, their laughter untouched by sorrow. She saw travelers pause by the river, whispering to each other about the girl who had once sung so beautifully. And every evening, as the sun dipped below the mountains, she listened. For her voice. For the song the wind carried from the river. It was always there, faint, sorrowful, weaving through the trees like a ghost's whisper. She could not sing, could not speak, but she could hear. And that was worse. Because it was a constant reminder of what she had lost. Of what the river had stolen. And deep within her heart, a desperate question formed. Could she ever take it back? One evening, as she sat at the river's edge, Sela noticed something strange. The whispered melody that had haunted her for so long had changed. It was still her voice, but there was something different, a new note, hidden beneath the sorrow. It almost sounded like a call. Like the river was speaking to her. She leaned closer, her fingers grazing the water's surface. A ripple spread outward, and for the first time since losing her voice, she heard something clearer, not just the wind's echo, but words, woven into the river's song. Return to me. Her heart pounded. Had she imagined it? She dipped her hand into the water, waiting. Silence. Then, just as she began to pull away. Come back. The voice was hers, yet not hers. The river was calling her. But why? Had it not taken enough? Or was there still something left to claim? Sela had spent years mourning her mistake. She had accepted her fate. But now, the river itself seemed to be summoning her. Could it be possible? Could she find a way to undo what had been done? The thought consumed her. For the first time in years, she felt hope, fragile, dangerous, but real. She needed answers. And there was only one person in Liranoa who might have them. The old storyteller. She had been the one to warn Sela all those years ago, the one who had known the river's magic better than anyone. If anyone understood what was happening now, it would be her. And so, for the first time since losing her voice, Sela stepped beyond the river's edge. She walked through the village like a ghost, unseen, unnoticed. But when she reached the storyteller's cottage, the old woman was already waiting at the door, as if she had known Sela would come. She studied the girl carefully, then sighed. "The river is not finished with you," she said. Sela's heart clenched. Did that mean she could reclaim her voice? Or did it mean something worse? The storyteller led Sela inside, offering her a seat by the fire. "You should not have returned to the river," she said. Sela lowered her gaze, unable to answer. The old woman sighed. "The whispering flow does not take lightly. Nor does it give freely." She stirred the fire absently. "For centuries, the river has granted voices, but always at a cost. Those who drink once are blessed. Those who drink twice are cursed." Sela clenched her fists. She knew all of this. But what she didn't know, what she needed to know, was why it was calling her back now. The storyteller studied her for a long moment. Then, she stood and crossed the room to a shelf, pulling down an old, leather-bound book. She flipped through the pages until she found what she was looking for. She turned the book towards Sela. And there, in faded ink, was a story far older than her own. A story of another who had once lost their voice to the river. A story of one who had tried to take it back. And had failed. The old woman looked at Sela, her expression grim. "The river is calling you," she said. "But not to return what was lost." Sela's breath caught. "Then why?" The old woman closed the book. "Because the river does not like unfinished stories." Sela returned to the whispering flow that night. She had spent years mourning, regretting. Now, she was ready. For whatever came next. The water shimmered beneath the moonlight, waiting. She knelt by the edge. For a long moment, she hesitated. Then, slowly, she touched the water. A ripple spread outward. The wind stilled. And then, the river spoke. Not in words, but in song. A melody, rising from the depths. A voice, her voice, drifting on the wind. And in that moment, she understood. She had spent so long trying to reclaim what she had lost, never realizing that her voice had never been truly gone. It had simply changed. It had become something more. Something eternal. Sela closed her eyes. And for the first time since that fateful night, she felt peace. The river had taken. But it had also remembered. And though she would never sing again as she once had, her voice would live forever in the wind, the water, the whispers of the world. A warning. A legacy. A song without end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing tales. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in Sela's place? See you in the next story.